Welcome back. Today, we're going to be discussing why I'm selling, why I've actually sold some of my positions in my portfolio. I did a video earlier in the week, right at basically the middle of March 2024, where I basically said in that video that I am selling my portfolio. Now, while at the time I didn't really sell crypto, it was mostly stock related assets. I'm starting to think that we are at the top of the market, and I'm going to explain why in this video. Now, let me be clear. Yes, I can be wrong. These are just my opinions. That's all we talk about on this channel, my opinions, my strategy for the market. But this time, we always hear this time is different. Oh, it's a super cycle. Oh, Wall Street, they're going to keep buying. Well, we're going to be addressing all of those points in today's video. In my view, the markets are very cyclical, and that means that they run in cycles. And we are now entering the Bitcoin halving period. When I'm recording this video, we're just about 30 days or 1 month till the Bitcoin halving, which is going to be occurring in the middle to end of April 2024. And historically, if you look at the markets around the halving time, there is a corrective period in the markets, right? The way the market people think about how the halving works is when the halving occurs, people think immediately the price is going to adjust. And what I've seen from studying these markets and analyzing these markets is that could occur, but typically you see a rebalancing overall in the rest of the market, a capitulation point. And that's we're starting to see the readjustment. Remember, the Federal Reserve has not began printing money yet. This is their reverse repo operations, which they began effectively about a year after the pandemic began. They were first doing repo operations, then they were doing reverse repo operations. So they began the repo operations in September of 2019, about 6 months before the capitulation point in 2020, and about 6 months before they shut down the global economy due to the situation, the pandemic, right? And so about 2 years after they did that, we started to see the reverse repo operations. And the reverse repo operation, again, it's still putting liquidity in the system, but this is more of a reversal of adding liquidity, which is sucking liquidity out, or quantitative tightening. And so what does this mean when we're talking about the global financial markets? What does this mean when we're talking about crypto? Well, before we go there, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. We upload every single day of the year to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Also, do me a favor, give the video a free thumbs up, as we upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Now, just because I believe we're at least towards the top of the market, local top, meaning just for now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to go higher, right? One thing that I think is super important for people in the crypto ecosystem or the trading ecosystem to understand is, if you're not pulling profits, you're not actually making any money. Every single cycle, people leave the bull run with zero. Some people leave the bull run with negative, right? Because they overtrade the market. They don't put money aside for taxes. And then their realized gains in 1 year are pushed and not paid, right? As they're getting losses 95% as the market is going down. And so pulling profits out of this market is, in my view, should be key number one for every single person who is looking to bring wealth into their ecosystem and has a shorter time horizon. Now, again, nothing I say on this channel is financial advice. These are my strategies and my thought process, right? But if you're long-term, like thinking about when I retire 30, 40 years from now, you can follow the markets, but I wouldn't necessarily trade the markets, because generally speaking, pretty sure everybody kind of agrees that the markets are going to keep going up over the long course of time. But in the short period, we still have to remember the bank term funding program, which bailed out the banks that were failing in 2023, that program has ended. We also know New York Community Bank also is potentially on the verge of collapse. We've seen a huge reduction in the price of this asset. But this is just these are just signals, right? When we're looking at the broader ecosystem, where is the narrative right now? It's in Bitcoin ETFs. And everybody's so excited saying, oh my God, Cryptoviser, how could you think that we're ever going to correct in the market? You know, BlackRock is buying, and Fidelity is buying, and ARK Invest is buying, which is true. But we're also seeing massive, massive selling. And the recent move from the $60,000 range to over $70,000, this occurred effectively on the weekend that we heard Michael Saylor was buying Bitcoin, right? So they bought $821 million using proceeds of convertible notes and excess cash. Effectively, they took out $700 million of more debt to buy more Bitcoin. And they did this on the weekend. So they're buying, and there's no major selling going on typically during the weekends because the Bitcoin ETFs and all of the settlements, they don't happen on weekends. This is only happening on business days, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m., right? And so the fact that they bought over the weekend when there was no effective major selling from the likes of Grayscale or FTX or whatever estates are actually selling, it was only buy pressure, $700 million worth. So we saw the price go up and higher. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, Cryptoviser, you're going to be wrong. We're not at a local top. Well, maybe we're not. But my whole thesis during the bear market was before the Bitcoin halving, we would have a capitulation point where the market would rally. This is on my Twitter page, on my X page. Go to x.com/thecryptoviser. The pinned tweet at the top is from October 14th. Right as the market was starting to rally, or right before the market started to rally, I basically said we're going to have a rally, then we're going to have capitulation, and then we're going to have the Bitcoin halving, and then we're going to go straight up from there, right? And so everything's kind of playing out the way that I think. But remember, these Bitcoin ETF issuers, they're in control. The Wall Street bankers are in control of this. They're in control of BlackRock. They're in control of Fidelity. And so what they understand is that all they got to do is stop buying, even for a month, and it's going to cause massive changes in the market. A lot of people are like, oh no, Cryptoviser, the market's going to keep going up. I'm like, do you really think that Larry Fink from BlackRock, this is the CEO of BlackRock, he may be the biggest Bitcoin supporter in the world, but does it make sense for him to be buying at all-time record highs and continue buying at all-time record highs? Or say, let's pull back on the seed investment for a second, maybe for a month, maybe for 2 months. Let's give Bitcoin a little resting, cool off period. And if they do that, I'm not saying that they're going to do that. I'm saying if they did do that, all of the net inflows, right, the new money entering crypto and buying all this Bitcoin is going to stop. And I believe that this is going to happen before the Bitcoin halving, because after the Bitcoin halving, they understand that the supply situation is much different. And so if we look at the inflows and outflows from these ETFs over the last few weeks, this is the Bitcoin ETF flow table. So anything in black is new money coming in, and anything red is money going out, right? Selling of Bitcoin, black is buying of Bitcoin, and then at the end, we see the total. But what's interesting here is that in the end of February, it was a net positive of 251 million, a net positive of 230 million, a net positive of 520 million, a net positive of 576 million, net positive of 673 million, and then it slowed down to 92 million. And then the following day, March 1, we had a negative, meaning there was more Bitcoin flowing out than was coming in. And so why? I don't know the exact reason why. March 1 was a Friday. So maybe it was at the end of the month because, the months just switched. So they were changing things up. I don't know. But again, if you look here, the inflows coming mostly from BlackRock and Fidelity, you can see that these numbers are all over the place. So these are probably part of the initial investment, maybe some, large hedge funds or other type of family office funds were investing. But do you see this happening forever? Where we see a net positive of $200 to $500 million every single day going into Bitcoin at all-time record highs, and that they're going to continue this? I don't think that this is what's going to happen. And so I'm watching what the flows are on the Bitcoin ETFs, even though we're hearing Larry Fink saying if you're a country where you're fearful of your government, and maybe this is one of the reasons China has banned it, meaning Bitcoin, if you're a country where you're fearful of your future, fearful of your government, or you're frightened that your government is devaluing the currency by too many deficits, you can say this is a great potential long-term store of value. And he says, and as I said, it's like digital gold. This is what he said on Fox. We're not going to play the video today because this video is really more about me explaining why I believe that we're kind of at the top locally, right? Just maybe a little bit of a cool down period. And with that month or two that I was just talking about, if BlackRock does that and the other ETF issuers take a little bit of a breather, that will line up with the Bitcoin halving and line up with the capitulation point before the Bitcoin halving, and I think things are going to go from there. It is also interesting that MicroStrategy is buying at the all-time record highs, right? They bought at $68,000, right? So basically at all-time record highs. I know that they're doing this to kind of instill confidence in the market and kind of they're trying to play catch up with the ETF issuers, because you can see here BlackRock is at $13 billion, probably a little bit more by the time you're watching this video. And MicroStrategy has almost the same amount of Bitcoin as them. So they're trying to stay ahead. But it's interesting that Michael Saylor is also buying at the top. And he told us just a few weeks ago when he was being interviewed, he said that he'll be buying the top forever. So if he's buying the top, that's an indicator we're at the top, right? We're at a local top in the market. The other thing to keep in mind, kind of tying back to traditional finance, is that the CPI, or the inflation numbers that we got in March for February, were not as good as estimates. And so the year over year actual was 3.2% versus 3.1% previous, and the estimation was 3.1%. So it's only, a tenth of a percentage point, or 0.1%, which is not that big of a deal. But the Federal Reserve is they're data driven. They keep saying that over and over. And so this will give them more reason to not lower rates, or not maybe even think about it. And we're going to be hearing from them next week, towards the end of March, about what they're going to be doing with the interest rate. And this could have an impact on the markets, right? If they say we're not even discussing lowering rates just yet, the markets are not going to like that. And remember what I say, I don't think that the Federal Reserve is actually going to lower rates until there is a crisis, because they don't care. This was mixed up in order, but MicroStrategy, also an insider sale alert. It says Chairman Michael Saylor sold more than $23 million of MicroStrategy and has now sold $150 million worth since the start of the year. Now, this looks like these are, it's a sale post exercise. So from my understanding, when part of executive compensation is they get stock options, right? So options. And then if those options exercise, meaning the stock is higher than whatever their strike price was, it will purchase those shares at that price. And then typically what you see is an immediate sale, so that they're buying and then selling. They're just converting those options into cash. It's not really an indicator that they are selling per se. It's not like they're just taking their stash of the stock and selling it. These are more for stock options and part of their compensation package. But it's something to keep in mind, because we are at literally all-time record highs in MicroStrategy. I personally liquidated most of my MicroStrategy stock. I'm waiting for a dip. People are saying we're not going to have a dip. I find that almost impossible to even fathom. If we just look at year to date, from the low, we were at $450. Now we're at $1,500, so more than 3x. And a lot of this is because of Bitcoin, right? So if the Bitcoin price drops or capitulates, what do you think is going to happen to MicroStrategy? And the same thing goes for Coinbase as well. This is why I believe, even though we may go higher than this, right? Maybe MicroStrategy is going to hit $3,000, and then we'll have a correction. We're going to have a correction. Markets don't go straight up, right? They will correct, even if the correction is only for a day, even if it's only for an hour, maybe it's only for, but if you look at the Bitcoin hourly charts over the last few days, as Bitcoin has been hitting these all-time record highs, you're starting to see $7,000 candles or $10,000 candles. As Samson Mao says, these are the Omega candles. When you see $10,000 candle drop when you're hitting all-time record highs, and then you continue to see these major wicks, that means the market is unstable, right? There's not enough sells and buy orders on the books to keep things stable, right? And so that could be an indicator that we're going to go much higher, but it's also an indicator we can go much lower. So it's something just to keep an eye on if you follow the markets every day. The other reason that I'm starting to feel toppy is, people that I know who never talk about crypto, never talk about finance. Just a few people in the last week have asked me about crypto. And I didn't really think about it until I started seeing all of this NFT Nick Choose Rich stuff. And now we're seeing Dave Portnoy back on the crypto bandwagon, having conversations with this new meme type of Joker parody type fun joking Twitter person. Anyway, and this is also indicative of toppy in the market, right? The fact that not just, we have Dave Portnoy who sold Bitcoin at the bottom and didn't realize for a year and a half later, now talking with NFT Nick about choosing rich. And we're also hearing dog with hat they're talking about on Bloomberg. Like, I'm going to show you this video. This is not even a joke. Like, to me, when you put all of these things together, it's very toppy, right? It's very like we're in euphoria, and everyone's like, no, there's no euphoria in the market. Like, it just feels very calm. It's like, no, we're hitting all-time record highs. People are getting way ahead of themselves, and they're failing to realize that markets happen in cycles. And I'm seeing more and more comments and tweets saying, this time is different. ETFs, this time is different. BlackRock, this time is different. Dog with hat. I'm like, this time is not different. And like, we're going to have a correction. That's my view. And that's why I'm strategizing my portfolio for that. So listen into what they say on Bloomberg this past week.
Is actually productizing those types of metrics into
make it a little fast.
An ETF. But those are typically the things that I look at.
What's been so interesting, of course, is the Bitcoin exuberance. Yes, it's solidified it in terms of the dominant player, but still all boats seem to have lifted to a certain degree. I mean, we're starting to talk about meme coins, and some of them affiliated with politics, others, I mean, dog with hat for whatever reason, just catching the meme zeitgeist. But
they were probably screaming in her ear, don't say it, don't say that. But yeah, I mean, this is what they're talking about, right? And almost every single day, if you turn on Bloomberg, CNBC, they're talking about Bitcoin every single day. And so these, in my view, are very indicative of toppy behavior, right? Getting way ahead of ourselves and saying we're not going to have a correction. We're not going down. There's going to continually be inflow. But remember, Wall Street is in control, not meme coins like dog with hat. And now they're planning to put the meme on the Vegas sphere. Remember, it's like $750,000 for like a few hours on the Vegas sphere. And so, that's a lot of money flowing in, and that's a lot of money flowing out of that specific crypto ecosystem. And so listen, guys, I could be wrong in my thesis and my analysis of the market. And that will be fine, right? If we keep going higher, I am out of the market so that I can make a decision. Well, if we're going to keep going higher, well, like let's say the Federal Reserve, the day after you watch this video, comes out and says, we're lowering rates, and the housing market goes crazy and they start printing money, everybody starts spending. Yeah, I'm probably going to put the money back into the market because the market's probably going to go much, much higher after that, right? But until we get those indicators, the exuberance, even as Bloomberg analysts said, the exuberance in the market tells me that we are due for a correction, right? Have most of these cryptos gone to the heights that people probably anticipated? No. I mean, even for me, a lot of the coins that I've been holding or rotating into have not doubled or tripled when we've seen others go 10x or 20x. And it's important to realize that not every asset is necessarily going to perform the same way. But we've already seen a lot going 10x. I'm going in my portfolio almost every day, and like I see another coin that I'm like, I didn't even remember I had this coin. Now it's worth more than when I bought it, years ago. That is part of, in my view, an opportunity to reset. And we've done this different parts of like our investing journey here on this channel. We did it right before FTX collapsed. I sent a tweet out. You guys can go look at my videos from late 2021. I sent out a tweet that said, look at your portfolio. What I'm doing is I'm selling some of my positions into losses in case we have a dip and I can buy that dip. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, boom, FTX collapsed, whole market dipped. And who was buying the market? This channel, we were, right? All the other channels were focused on what did Sam do? What did FTX do? Is Binance going down? What happened to BlockFi? What happened to Genesis? What happened to Gemini Earn? So all the focus over there. And meanwhile, the market was bottomed and we were buying it up. And so I hope that this is another kind of reset period for the market before the actual bull run, before the Bitcoin halving. And then after the Bitcoin halving, it's going to be all fun from there. We're almost there. And I would love to hear what you guys are doing in your portfolios. Do you agree with my thesis that we are going to have a capitulation point before the Bitcoin halving? Or do you think that I am wrong and I'm probably going to lose out on a lot of potential gains? Let me know down below, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up, and crypto on.